Now this says you are recording and live.
Okay, yeah, we're live on YouTube now. Welcome everybody to Biotensegrity Tea Party number 30. That's 30 already. That's incredible. Today we're doing our second ever model zoo, and we're so excited. We've got a full house packed with some experts in model building. And also we've invited our participants, those of you who are on Zoom, to hop on board towards the end of today's tea party and share your models. So if you have models to share, please let us know in the chat. And if you're here on YouTube, please say hello. And we'll begin, as always, with a toast. So Bruce, can you please share a toast with us?
Yeah, hi, I'm Bruce Hamilton. I live and work in Arcata, California, and I consider it an honor to be invited. So here's toast to the Biotensegrity Tea Zoom meeting.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
L'chaim. There we go.
Thank you, Bruce. And why don't I introduce the rest of our guests and our tea party very quickly before we go on to sponsors and the more in-depth introduction. So first of all, our special guests today are Bruce Hamilton, whom you've met. Hi, Bruce. And I'm going to actually start with the tea party team so that our other guests can unmute themselves and say hi. So Graham, my co-host, Graham Scarr from Nottingham, UK. Hi, Graham.
Hi, Chris.
Great to see you. And Susan Lowell de Soloranzo from Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. Hi, Graham. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Susan. And the other tea party team members, we've got Rachel Tudor coming to us from Tumwater in Washington State. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everybody.
And Mariana Barreto, our tech whiz, our social media whiz, coming from Mississauga, Ontario. Hi, Mariana.
Hi, everyone.
And over here, we've got Lisa Babiak. She's from St. Albert, Alberta. Hi, Lisa.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
And now back to our guests, as well as Bruce. We have Andreina and Christian coming to you right now from Argentina. Well, it's not their place of birth. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. Christian, say hi so we see you up on the screen.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. June Kwak from Alberta, Calgary.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
And do we have Fernando here? I don't see him on my screen.
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon. Good
here we go. Fernando Tejero, one of our sponsors. So speaking of sponsors, Graham, I think it was you that we're going to share our sponsors today.
That's quite right. Yes, we want to tell you about the sponsors for the Biotensegrity Tea Party, which is an all-volunteer production of the Stephen N. Levin Archive, and made possible because of our sponsors. I'll start with Handspring Publishing in East Lothian, Scotland, who produce excellent books and research-based material for movement and manual therapy professionals. And they are offering a generous discount coupon to all those on the Biotensegrity Archive mailing list and our Zoom participants. So if you want that discount coupon, have a look in the chat. For those watching on Zoom on YouTube, then get onto the Biotensegrity Archive mailing list and you can get all details off there. Handspring also offer a weekly newsletter entitled Springboard, which you can join from their website, handspringpublishing.com, which provides details of their webinar series, Move to Learn, hosted by Elizabeth Larkham. We're also supported by Chris Clancy's educational organisation, Embodied Biotensegrity, in Vancouver, British Columbia. And for those of you looking to learn more about Biotensegrity, Chris's programs are an excellent resource. Biotensegrity Trailblazers meets twice a month. There's also a book club and other courses joined in as well. So have a look at that. We also have sponsorship from Artifact Pro with Fernando Tejero, who is one of our guests tonight, from Madrid, Spain, who produces wonderful anatomical tensegrity models. And Artifact Pro also offers a generous discount coupon to our viewers on the archive mailing list and our Zoom participants. And finally, last but not least, we have the British Fascist Symposium in the UK, which organises their event every 2 years, which is also producing other exciting material coming up very soon, I think starting in November. So that's our sponsors. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Graham. And before we get into the bulk of our tea party today, I would just like to invite everybody who is here with us on Zoom to please let us know your name, where you're from. Let us know if you've got a model you'd like to share. Susan is keeping track of that. And also questions can go right into the chat. Please put a couple of question marks when you write in your questions. That makes it easier for Susan to find the questions. And as well, if you are here with us on YouTube, please let us know who you are, where you're from, what interests you in biotensegrity and in model making. And also type in your questions because Mariana will bring those over to Susan. Okay, so
Can I add that if you're here with us on Zoom, it's time to turn your video off.
Thank you, Susan.
If you're not part of the main panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. And we're going to begin today with Bruce Hamilton, and I'll have Susan introduce Bruce. But before you do, Bruce, I want to say how nice it is to see you again. I remember sitting at a table on Gambier Island, and you were teaching me how to use a compass. I've gone a long way since then, and those are really cherished memories. Yes, so much patience. Okay.
Yeah.
I also have my models and I'm excited about more, and you're going to share that too, are you, Susan?
Yes, so we're going to, I've put into the chat Bruce's website, and then there's a password that will get you to the pages that have stuff for sale. Bruce is amazing. He's been a supporter of the Biotensegrity archive from the beginning, was very generous in donating models back in 2015 that we sold at the summit and at Big 7. It's just, he's been an incredible supporter, really generous with his sharing his techniques on how to build his models, and even taking requests for new models like the phase changer and such. So Bruce, can you tell us a little about your background with tensegrity? Bruce is my 1 degree of separation from Buckminister Fuller, I figured out last night, which made me very excited. So Bruce, I'm going to put it over to you, and I'm wondering if Bruce can get spotlighted. Maybe I can do that.
Actually, Susan, if you shut off your video and leave your mic on, it should be good.
Okay. I have, I mean, I don't know what other people are seeing. I'm in speaker view and I have Chris's window big. Not Bruce.
Are you waiting for me to?
He's fine. He's fine.
Okay, good. There you go. All right, Bruce, tell us about yourself.
Okay. Graduated college with a degree in biology. I was on the way to be pre-med anyway, changed course like life does, and I ran into Bucky Fuller, and he's been a huge influence on my life. I was also very fortunate to meet Kenneth Snelson and visit his studio in New York. And somehow between the two of that, I've had a fascination with tension structures and have made my own models a hobby. And I sell a few here and there, but it's not something I do to make money. Anyway, that's about it. I do run a company. I'm almost 74 now, and I'm healthy and alive and kicking and ready to make some more models. If people really want them, I'll make a few more.
And I think, yeah, we have a video from Bruce that he made for us where he's gonna share his little tour of his shop and everything. So that's gonna be fun to see. Mariana's gonna bring that up.
Okay, we're just waiting to make sure that that goes up also on YouTube, Susan.
Yes.
And so while we're waiting for that, I do want to remind everyone that this is very special that Bruce has got some models for us. Every time that Graham or Susan or Steve or Joe or anybody has one of Bruce's models, there are always comments in the chat. So anyways, so I just encourage you, this is going to be your chance. And I'm excited because I'm
Hi, my name is Bruce Hamilton, and this is my garage shop where I make tensegrity models. My interest in tensegrity starts, of course, with Bucky, a long-time student of Bucky's. I've read all his books, studied geometry, understand it pretty well. And of course, that leads me to tension structures and how to make some models. There are lots of ways to make models, but I've developed my own methods, which we're going to show you some of those today. When you want to make a tension structure to tensegrity, one of the great challenges is how to attach the tension line to the strut. And over the years, I've come up with some different ways to do it, and I'll give you quickly. This is one of the very first ones from Bucky's patent. Must have made this over 40 years ago, and you can see how difficult. You have to drill 3 times through the strut. To drill both ends, you're working with very small screws, and then you thread the tension elements through the washers that will go to the screw on the next one. If you do that, you can make this structure. Okay, now, here's a second variation, a second way of doing it. You can take the tension harness, now we're talking harness, and you put it on top of the strut. Strut length is here, and each of these is going to go into the next one. So from here to here to there, that's your diamond, that's your harness. Having done that, I had the idea of making the entire harness separate, and I'll show you that in a minute. The strut can be attached quite differently to the harness. Here I've just got this thing knotted inside, and I have 2 connectors that go to the next strut in the ends. Simplify that, you can put each one of these guys in its own little hole. It's just a knot, and then it goes in the end of the other one, and 30 of these makes that. And then one day I was putting different things together and I came upon chopsticks. And the chopstick is really nice because you don't need anything into one end. So the strut is just a simple stick, put one hole and one screw, and then into the washer, and it stops somewhere. So that's your strut length. Okay, so that makes a structure like these. You could also just, this basic module, you just keep going and you make something that's more like that. Chopsticks. This is the
my contribution is to show the continuous tension hearts. Here is the vector equilibrium, the 6-strut model that most of you are familiar with. And it is all made before you even see the strut. So going from a complicated strut to a simple strut, chopsticks in between, it has one fastener. This one, when you use pens, the tensegrity, there are no fasteners. You just put it in where it's supposed to go. And when you do that, you will build the tense, flexible model. Again, I'm sure many of you have seen this before. A vector equilibrium. Now, from the 6-pen model to the 12 tensegrity model, here is the tension hearts. Got the North Pole, the South Pole, and in between I got steps. That, when you install a few pens into this, and we'll have our little triangle at the bottom, and then you can start to see the mast build, and it eventually will be like that. That Susan and I have been kicking around is trying to make a kit where we could easily get you the ingredients and the recipe and a little bit of how to do, and you could make yourself either a 6 or a 12 strut tensegrity. We've introduced the concept of tensegrity mast. It could be a kit that you could make. You could easily nail a thing like in a little poster tube, and the instructions on how to do it. This is the other aspect of what I do, what I love to do. These are custom made, high precision, and we're taking aluminum arrow shaft material that is drawn by using aluminum and precise threaded insert that is going to go right in the end of that tube, and then a stainless steel bolt that goes and captures the aluminum strut. And we can make these in many sizes and in different colors, and they are very nice little things to have around. The need to travel with a tensegrity mast. This is what I call the phase changer. So it changes from a complete, loose, uninflated type of thing to the complete tensional structure by lengthening the strut. You just turn the strut, half a strut out. The strut is in 2 pieces. And as it gets longer and longer, you're essentially pumping air into the balloon. It's another trick you could do if you got yourself a good power speed. I've said that I use math to derive these chord lengths, and Kenneth Snelson famously said you can't determine the tenon lengths by math. You have to do an experiment. But I do start with math. This is a cylinder, and then there's 2 positions on the surface of that cylinder as you go toward the bottom to the top. In the case of a cylinder, the radius is the same at each spot, so it's constant. Now, when you go to a tower, like this one, the radius is changing every time you move up the floor. And I have it changing at a constant 15 degrees. So I redo
Say that part again.
the radius changes each time you move up one floor. So you got the biggest radius, the second. Then you go from the second to the third, third to the fourth, etc. Then, of course, you have to build it, and there is a feedback loop. Sometimes you're a little off somewhere and you make slight adjustments and that kind of thing. But eventually, I have the recipe to make the entire harness, put in the struts. When I was talking to Susan about this, and she asked me, well, are you still selling them? Are those custom pieces for sale? And the answer is yes. I'd be glad to make one for you, or you could buy one that you've seen in this short little video here. Well, thanks for hanging out with me in the shop.
Bruce, fantastic. We've got some bravos, hands clapping
Yes.
here. I would love to hang out with you in your shop for real sometime. It's like Santa's shop, but only more
Ditto.
exciting.
Ditto.
And I see Steve and Andreina and Christian and Fernando. I don't want to take too much time here, but I bet you've just got something you're bursting to say after seeing all of that. So 1 minute if you want.
Yeah, and can I also, Bruce, will you talk just for a minute while people are putting their comments together about your time at the North Face? I think you revolutionized tent making.
That's what I was going to bring up. That tent he showed was one he designed, the North Face tensegrity tent.
Yeah, the first one was 1975, and I did the geometry on it. And at the time, I was the production manager for North Face, so I also ran. So it was not just the shape and size, but how to make it. And I also named it. I came up with the name Oval and Tension because it was shaped ovally, and it was a tent, and it was a tensional structure. And yeah, that really did impact the camping world significantly. The one that actually,
all tents are made this way now.
well, no, not really, but it also, I've always wanted to try to get Fuller's geometry out, and we even said it in the catalog where, the kid goes camping and he looks and says, maybe there's more than right angles in this world. Because the right angle is a basic mistake.
I remember sitting in a cafe, Bruce, with you and Susan and Steve and myself and a couple of others, and you talked about that moment of imagining kids lying down in this tent and seeing exactly that, the dome and the dome of the sky. Don't know if that's the right terminology for it, but in order to keep us going here, Andreina, excuse the language, it looks like you're bursting to say something. Do you want to say something to Bruce? This is like meeting one of our pioneers. So if you'd like to unmute, I see Fernando's unmuted. You go first, Fernando, if you wish.
No, Andreina goes first, please.
Okay.
I mean, it's amazing. Seriously, I really, really want to visit your work, your workshop, your place of work. It's really inspiring seeing all of this. Like, I really want to experiment with all of this. I would love to exchange ideas, like have a play date, right? Of tensegrity. It's amazing, seriously.
Well, I would be, well, you're welcome anytime. It is just my garage,
It's okay. Any place it's valid. I don't know if that's the word. Any place it's okay, since if we have the elements, it's just enough. the elements and our brains.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Andrina. And does any, oh, go ahead, Bruce. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Andrea.
Fernando?
Lena.
Yes, I would like to say that Mr. Hamilton's works is marvelous and impressive, and I really love his solution and proposals as the linkages and the joints. And yeah, I would like to assist to that tensegrity date. I would love to go and play in your garage, Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, and you're welcome anytime.
Let's make a party at your garage.
You know, I will say this feels like a party, you know, bringing together those of you, I mean, you guys are so deep in this, and I am going to move us on now, because part of what we do and part of what we really encourage at the Biotensegrity parties and in the Biotensegrity community is that every voice matters. So we have people like you who are seeing as pioneers and are doing, I mean, people like me, I'm just like overwhelmed and so excited. And we have people like me who took a long time to build that first tensegrity icosahedron, or the vector equilibrium, as Bruce is calling it. And we want to show that this work is so powerful. It impacts us on all levels. And wherever we are, it's an entryway in. It's a way of, as Margaret Wortham says, performing mathematics, learning. Some of us really need to learn hands-on. And I met June Kwak at Christine Wuschke's myofascial yoga training. And I want to give a shout out to Christine because her trainings are amazing. She invited me on to share Biotensegrity. She has Joanne Avison guest teach, and I know Carol Davis is also there, others as well, I'm sure. But June has taken this in a whole new way, and I'm excited to have you share, June, and I'm sure everybody else will be as well. So June, did you want to start with your garden tensegrities and tell us a little about them?
Yeah, sure. So this basic shape, everything to date. Oh, what's that?
Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you do that? And as June is pulling up her screen, Mariana, do we need to have the other cameras off or not?
I think you're good.
Okay.
I'll turn everything else off. Yeah.
Okay. So I should stay on.
So,
You should stay on.
all right. I'll just begin. I want to be in that garage too. I was like, oh, I have to try that. I have to try that. That whole making the tension thing separate. But today, this is one of the simplest models, and I think judging from the last model zoo months ago, a lot of people here have made one, and there's instructions how to make this. So it's what you see on the screen is just this same small model, the tensegrity icosahedron, made bigger because I used bamboo garden stakes, 3 foot long, and some string. This is the second year I made them, and this year I learned how to use a jigsaw, so I could safely cut a little slot in the ends of each of the struts, which it seems like that's, just as Bruce said, that's one of the big challenges. How do you attach strings and struts together? So this structure was placed on when the plant was very small, and it grew through. It did actually fall apart once. It's been blown over. It's not attached to the ground. And the interesting thing is that as it was growing through it, it's both being supported a little bit by the tensegrity, because the flowers are so heavy, but it also supported the structure of the tensegrity itself, being kind of a scaffold, because I didn't at first notice that one of the knots had come apart. And so once I reattached that knot, it's still in my garden now. No blooms, of course, and it started to snow this week. but that's that one. And then I did a version of, inspired by Kenneth Nelson's tower, a needle tower. I made a bean tower, starting out again with this as the base, the first 2 levels, which it started off with just 2 levels. And if you simply move the struts within the string, you can change the shape of it. So it makes a more of a tower shape. And then as it grew, I had to learn, okay, how do I put the next level on? And then taking a 3 prism of the correct twist, then I put it on top, and by observing the photos of the needle tower, then I was able to add and remove more tension elements. And this was a very sturdy structure in the end. And you can see just a little flower there. It was scarlet runner beans, and I didn't happen to get a picture of it fully in bloom. And finally, this one fell apart the most. I didn't use straight sticks. These were curved, and I wasn't able to cut any slots. So I was just tying the different sticks together. And it's a variation on the triangle shape, except the base was wider, the top was narrower. And I learned a lot from the thing falling down and having to rebuild it in all of these models. Yeah, I even got a few tomatoes out of it. I was also surprised that the tomato plants themselves, even though the whole thing fell over, once I put it back up, and I even took the whole thing apart and put it back together a few times, that the plant was okay through all of it too. And so I think now I'll just go on to the poem that dropped out of the tensegrity. So, and I'll just maybe go to the regular video, or just point out that I'm going to stop sharing now. So, don't know if you can see me yet. I don't see myself. Are you able to see me?
So if people
I
are
can
on
see you.
speaker view, they can see you.
Okay. All right. I just couldn't tell. All right. So as part of the presentation that Chris gave, when she came to our yoga teacher training, we built one of these using Susan's method. And one of the things I did was just write a few things right on the structure itself. So I have here, this is a Biotensegrity model, that the fact that it's auxetic, that a few different things. And along the way, my husband was noticing that I'm building a lot of these things. And he says, oh, he's an engineer. And so he said, oh, I built one of those in university, and I just did it with 1 string. So that was a new challenge. And I spent many hours, and finally I did it once, but I couldn't repeat it. Luckily, I borrowed a book from Graham Scar, and in the back, there are some very friendly, detailed, illustrated instructions, how, if you wanted to, thread this together with 1 string. And this is where the poem came from. I had to return the book, so I don't know why I didn't just take a photo of those pages. Instead, that picture you just saw, I wrote down, studying the instructions. Instead of labeling the strut, the red one, I just wrote down what that strut said, as well as a simple notation for which end of the strut I was joining to. So I'll just go through it now, and you'll hear the resulting poem, which is a repetition, because you're going to go through each strut about 4 times or so. So this is a biotensegrity model. So there's the first red one.
June, I'm
Yeah.
jumping in here. When you told me last night, you said the first strut is a tensegrity model.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, because the second one is, okay, this is a tensegrity model. The second one is, this is not a biotensegrity model. Joanne Avison made sure that we would never call this a biotensegrity model. It's a tensegrity model. It's not a biotensegrity model. And back to, this is a tensegrity model, a model of forces, of tension compression, and the sum of tension compression. This is a tensegrity model. Compression struts floating in a tensioned network. This is, not a biotensegrity model. Bouncy. This is a tensegrity model. Bouncy. A model of forces. Compression struts floating in a tensioned network. A model of forces. Bouncy. Auxetic, my favorite. And this is not a biotensegrity model. Auxetic. I think I might have done it wrong. A model of forces. Oh, I did do it wrong. Hold on. Go back to auxetic. Bouncy. This is not a biotensegrity model. Compression struts floating in a tensioned network. Auxetic. A model of forces. Auxetic. This is not a biotensegrity model. Auxetic. Compression struts floating in a tensioned network. This is a tensegrity model. So it's just simply a different notation of how to string this together with one string. But I really enjoyed the repetition, and also the way the lines, the original 6 lines are folded in on itself. They're the kind of spiraling of ideas. If you chose the 6 statements carefully, then you could use it as a contemplative tool. On my blog, I do have an example of that as well. So there it is. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what other people have to share.
Thank you, June. I know when I first read your blog about this poetry, it just like blew my mind how this simple structure is inspiring people in so many different ways. So thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on. Bravo. Thank you for sharing. And next we have Christian and Andreina and Mariana. You were going to introduce them for us with your lovely accent. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, everyone. So this is Cristian Castro Arenas. He's a Colombian living in Argentina, and Andreina Graterol Fuenmayor, Venezuelan, yay, living in Argentina as well. And well, they're going to present to us their bugs, right? So get ready because they are something special.
Okay, thank you, Mariana. Thank you, everyone. So let's see.
Okay.
Selection bugs.
Yeah, we call them bugs. We would also like to clear something. We actually teach tensegrity in our workshops. We actually teach them from a design perspective because our goal is to experiment from a morphology standpoint so that this can contribute to different disciplines. That's why we accept everyone that wants to join into our workshop is more than welcome. You don't have to have other knowledge, previous knowledge for our workshops. So we like to experiment with this morphology way. So, of course, we also hope that people that do our workshops, it helps them then to both design new structures or maybe understanding from a morphological way maybe the object that they are under investigation. I think that would be the way that we are more into teaching than into research in a biological way. Maybe that would be
Yes.
our with the workshops, because we do a lot of things also.
Yes, there is a lot of research behind this. And this selection is a selection of bugs or a selection of experiments that we have directed in the workshops that Andreina says. There is a lot of bichos more.
Yeah, more bugs. There are plenty of more bugs, but we choose maybe the more I don't know, the more prettiest ones on the pictures.
Yes, and all these pictures have been taken on the workshop, so there is a very different lights and angles and a lot of things.
It's not like a professional picture.
But we hope so you enjoy these things. Okay, we call them bichos.
Bichos is bugs. Okay.
Bichos means bugs. This is our guide in the workshops, because we encourage to experiment, and there is no failure in these experiments. So this give more possibilities.
Yeah, and any result is valid for us.
Exactly.
Actually, we have had other workshops that we tried to do something, and maybe sometimes because of a matter of timing, we have to change, and we don't consider that a failure, just another result.
Yes, and that's the reason for what our workshops called experimental integrity. So here we want to share some kind of taxonomy of our bichos. So that's a picture of the components that we usually use in these workshops. And this is a 1.0 classification taxonomy.
Ya, pero vamos un momento, devuelve un pelo. We use either wood sticks that are the one that is the white one and the blue one. They're rounded and they have a little section on the ends. The one that is curved and the one of the 3 points in blue and 4 and the 3 black one, they're printed in 3D printed. And the one that is the ice cream, the ice cream stick, we actually did this for a workshop so people could do the sticks from their home. So it's like a DIY element
Yeah.
for our workshops. And we also use for the compression,
And the
no, for the
tension.
tension, sorry. Yeah, sorry. For the tension, latex and recycle bicycle tires. We cut the tires and then we use them for our beaches.
Okay. That's a first classification. And we think that really all the tensegrities could be in this classification. This obviously is is the 1.0 proposal. So let's go to see the bichos. Let's begin by the cells.
So in cells, we have, we use the platonic solids that depending on the way that they are structured or assemblage, we call them by inner vector space or by the tissue or the external, the external structure.
Yes.
So we are used to teach how to build octahedrons and an icosahedron as the inner vector space.
Yes. One thing. Usually, the tensegrity constructions, or we usually think to join one, or the cell is the 3D cell, but we teach that the cell could be just one compressor and a tension element, and based on this, we teach the biological strategies.
We actually use we use strategies of symmetry on the process of how to build the cells and then how to assemble the cells together.
Yes, in the main research, there is two kinds of strategies, general and specific. We, in the workshops, we teach the general strategies that have to see with symmetries.
Mm-hmm. And this is the tetrahedron built by the external tissue or the external structure.
This is digital, or it's obviously a cube. Mm-hmm. And when we teach these strategies, and we encourage to play, the participants always have ideas, and they made new cells like this. Mm-hmm. We call this
actually we called it the Pacman cell because it kind of looks like a Pacman.
Yes. And another kind of cells like this.
Mm-hmm. This cell is actually 3 triangles, one in the middle that is turned on the other side, maybe, and then 3 vertical sticks. This, for us, is a single cell.
Exactly. Because these have the potential of join and have a complex tissue. Mm-hmm. This is another kind of cells, just changing the element. We have another behavior of the cell, and then we have another kind of tissue and another kind of behavior of the whole tissue. Mm-hmm. It's another. This is
there is something that maybe that we didn't say in the there are different for us. We have the ones that are built by platonic solids, and then we have the experimental cells, And when they change the elements, then when they use only one element, we call them the experimental cell with homogeneous, I don't know how would be that, how to pronounce that, but homogeneous, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, thank you. Homogeneous components. And when they change the one of the elements, we call them
Experiment.
heterogeneous. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't research this before.
Heterogeneous.
Heterogeneous. Thank you. Pasa la siguiente ahora sí. That this one would be one of them that actually changes the length of the
Central component.
Yeah, of the
And
latex. Yeah.
Is without one of the rubber bands. It's another kind of cells.
See, in this one we have two kinds of the compression elements. Yeah.
And they can play and imagine all of kinds of cells. That was a little selection of cells, for example.
So yeah, antes de que pases. So here you can see maybe a little resumen. I don't know how to say it. But we have the cells, and then we have the tissues. In the cells, we have the one that are based on platonic solids with inner vector and external tissue. And then on the experimental cells, we have the ones that have the same components and the one that have different components that are here, the words that I can't say.
Yes.
And then on the tissues, we have a simple tissue that is formed with a single type of cell. And then we have the complex tissue that is multiple types of cells.
Exactly. So let's see the simple tissues. This is the one with the Pacman cell. And then we have some experiments in the digital world too.
This is made in Grasshopper program. Here we have two tetrahedrons. And then how in digital.
And the same cell have the potential to have or to join in multiple ways. So we can choose in what phase of this cell we can connect the next cell and have a tissue and have a code that can direct the growing tissue. It's another experiment. This is with chopsticks. And someone's think in a possible use, functional use. And in our workshops, we encourage to work the teamwork. They have more ideas and more experiments like this. All these have made with octahedron. This is another kind of tissue. This is with chopsticks, for example. We can play a lot, really. We can have.
This is a different behavior that we get with the curves if we assembly in ahí está. Ay, no sé cómo se dice cóncavo y convexo.
Mariana?
Ayuda.
Convex and oh my goodness, convex and
Concave.
concave. Thank you.
Concave.
Concave, it's the same, yeah.
Okay.
Then with only one kind of element, we can have different kind of behavior and configuration, and we can even change between one or another.
¿Puedes devolverte un momento a lo de los tetraedros? Something that I want to say is that we encourage them to build a single tissue, and we call it an algorithm, and then we encourage them to proliferate this algorithm into a whole complete, or at least more bigger tissue.
Yeah. Experiments.
All of these are, all the previous ones were octahedrons. And this one is, this is a single cell, the triangle one that we call a reciprocal cell of 3 elements. And then here, the participant replicated in a circle
With
way.
rotational symmetry.
Yeah, with a rotational symmetry. There are what? 6? No. Yeah, 6. 6 of them. And then what he did to build a 3D tissue, he just made another one and joined them with vertical sticks. And this is how how the tissue behaves when you pull it from the sides.
So we have another kind of cell.
This is also, eso ya sería también como el octaedro, ¿no?
Sí.
This has the same way of building the octahedron, but you see that it only has 2 elements. The thing is that we have the element that had 3 points, so 3 ends. So
It's not an octahedral. It's a double pyramid, with based on triangle.
Tetrahedral, no?
Yeah, that one. Sorry.
Double tetrahedral. See.
Yeah.
And I just want to jump in and share Maggie Burrow's comment, a proper zoo of evolving and mutating critters. I want to say that out loud for those people who are watching on YouTube and can't read through our chats. Stephen Levin writes, the most exciting phrase to hear in science, the one that heralds new discoveries, is not eureka, but that's funny. This is the words of Isaac Asimov.
Yes. And we can really have any form of tensegrity. For example, this is based on a Buckminister fullerene. I don't know if it's the same word in English, really.
¿Cuál?
Buckminister fullerene.
No sé.
This is
Buckminster fullerene?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have an icosahedron in the center, but we can replicate really any form with this way of do the things.
Of building. The only thing is that you have to understand the morphologic of the shape that you want to interpretate into tensegrity.
Is in this strategy, what we do is have a reciprocal cell in any node. This is called in design rod umbrella rotation. I don't remember why, but is another strategy from design. And we have the octahedral, or the evolution of the octahedral cell turning tissues.
And Andreina, I just want to remind people that you said at the beginning, this way of approaching the building is accessible, that was one of your goals. I remember you saying. So that's super exciting because we look at the complexity of the bugs. I can't remember the Spanish word for that. And we say it looks like overwhelming, but you are taking people who maybe have no experience whatsoever, and also teamwork and exploration. And to me, that is so exciting.
Thank you. Actually, we've kids have built our tensegrity models. And just the other day, we were realizing that we kind of founded this organization that is called Tensegrity, which ¿cómo se dice siglas en inglés?
Yeah, tense biolat. That's good.
Yeah, but how do you? But
because
you
it's
can
tensional structures inspired by biology with people all over Latin America working together.
Yeah. And another way, like the abbreviation, the capital letters of it is TBL. That the other day we Googled what would be TBL, and it is team-based learning. So we like to learn in teams.
Can you talk about, this is Susan here, you talked about how changing just one element from convex to concave or something changed the entire movement, and that was that Steve was talking about that sort of, that's funny, that's surprising.
Yeah, it was like that. No sé si quieres devolverte a esa.
Ahí vamos.
We would go back to that one, this one. It is completely different, the behavior of the, of this tissue. Even when you want to compress it, it would have more, it would rotate in a different way just because of the convex and concave way.
Yes, in this real begin to build like a flat tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And this tissue is orthogonal. Is yes, it's
yeah, it's a mesh. We actually we started experimenting it as a mesh. What?
Squared.
It is a squared mesh, and we were experimenting on what if we close this mesh, and it was surprising the behavior if you do it in the direction of having it all of them convex or concave.
Yeah, and one of the properties of this is surprising too. Maybe is that tensegrity not only have the tension out of the configuration. In this case, the tension is inside, and the structure still works.
Is it biphasic?
Yes, Stephen?
Is it biphasic? Does it flip from one to the other in a sense, rather than it's either this or that? It's not somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, Steve, is what it is that they have made two designs which are similar, except that the struts are either flipped one way or the other. But I don't think they're biphasic, but I think what Christian's saying is that the tensional elements are on the inside of the structure here, not the outside.
This is an exoskeleton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it could be, we haven't tried it, but maybe if we would try to make it inside out, we may make it by
But maybe works.
Ajá, sigue para allá los complejos, pues ya siento que lleva mucho tiempo. Okay,
Ah,
we tried.
yeah. This is just the simple tissues.
The simple tissues, the ones that have all the same type of cell. Then we have the complex one that we change the cells, the types of cells. And here, eso sí,
It's
tenemos el
another
tiempo
kind
medio.
of play. For example, here we have icosahedral and cubes. Here we have a tetrahedral and octahedral, and we can replicate. And here is a very interesting proposal that they play with the duality of the platonic solids.
Ya tenemos que ir terminando.
Oh, cool.
Another
So while we're
card.
going through the images, I just want to share for those people on YouTube that Bruce Hamilton has just written wonderful work. Love it. And Bruce, I remember when we were together in Vancouver area and you were talking about Legos and how children, you know, the very fact that Legos are so ubiquitous, it trains us in a certain way. Well, hearing you, Christian and Andreina say, well, kids have built these. I imagine you hearing that I imagine that made you feel very happy.
Of course.
If you want, Bruce, you're welcome to say something. I see you're unmuted and I will ask you to start your video if you want to comment on anything.
Right.
You are more than welcome to jump in.
Okay. That's the institutions and people who have been working with us. And I want to say thank you for that. And the Tensegrity net or community will be growing a lot. Thank you.
Yes, Chris. And I always felt that the building blocks of Legos, it just embeds in the people's minds that you stack things up, then you put a beam across, as opposed to pulling them in toward the center. And so I really love your work, all three of you. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
So exciting. And also very exciting, those people who are members of the Biotensegrity Trailblazers group that I run. We are going to be lucky enough to have the opportunity to join Christian and Andreina for a pilot workshop. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but Andreina and Christian, the orange ones with the curved struts and making that tissue is part of what we're going to be able to do, isn't it?
Of course.
That's the idea until now.
So excited. I can't wait. So Susan, do you want to say anything? Graham, do you want to say anything before I invite Lisa on to introduce Fernando?
No, we've got so many more things to do, and we're already after the hour. So let's keep going.
Let's keep
Guys,
it going.
that was fabulous.
It was amazing. Okay, Lisa, why don't you introduce Fernando for us? And then
Thank you,
Fernando,
Chris.
take it away after that.
Okay, I'm pleased to introduce Fernando Tejera. He is from the Artifact Pro. He's one of our sponsors from Madrid, Spain. So take it away, Fernando.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I would like to congratulate Christian and Andreina for just such an amazing introduction. I love how they encourage people to play, to create new cell or new bags, and embracing the error, and to do the teamwork for the algorithm to proliferate into a bigger tissue. I think it's a really nice work what they're doing. And I really love also June's works. It's very clever applications that she's doing on the gardens. And I also love the poetry. I love how she was building how she was with the icosahedron with the 24 cables, how is she doing with only one cable. And also, I would like to congratulate and thank Bruce for being here. It's a pleasure to have a trailblazer of the tensegrity. I would like to share with you today. You know already from another meetings, you have here the tensegrity 1 that we are developing. This is the last model that we have, but I would like to show you how it's been evolving. So I recover from the prototypes trace that I call. This is the first tensegrity 1 model. I don't know if you can see it properly. You see there, here we have 2 sticks. We change it later for a vertebra. You can see the behavior, and even it is getting, now it needs to be treated. There you go. So you can tell here, the first prototype wasn't good enough, but we keep it. From here, we evolved to this one, which you can see is not also the best one. You can see here some of the cables going down, and here is a kind of a messy. We changed here the vertebra, as I was saying. We try with another materials here for the pubis, okay? But we keep on improving and we keep on building based on the errors, as all the people were saying in the presentations. It's good to embrace the errors. So as you can see here, from the first prototype to the last one, there are several differences on the behavior, on the kind of solutions that we put, and also on the directions of the tension elements, as you were seeing here. So with this, what I would like to say is that even the first try that you do for building tensegrities is not the best one. You need to keep on building and to keep on improving the model, because it's what tensegrity have. You will learn with the mistakes or with the errors, as my partners were saying. And I would like to take the chance also to recall and to remind you all our last Biotensegrity party, where Dorothea was showing us the Intention Designs dossier webpage and the archive that she does about Tom Flemon's work. And I will take the chance to highly recommend you to get into the website and dive into all the pictures, quotes, papers, resources, designs, and models, and also to enjoy and experience with the archive that Dorothea has deeply and carefully organized and interrelated the ideas, pictures, email comments, and conversations about several aspects, techniques, examples, application, and other interesting information surrounding tensegrity structures, tensegrity designs, and tensegrity models. Last week, I was so excited and emotionated by talking about Tom that I forgot to share with you how I discovered the archive. And as you will see on the video on the YouTube, on the last Biotensegrity party, if you didn't get the chance to see, Dorothea explained to us how to dive in, how is everything indexed, and how are the pictures organized. And it's a very clever and nice way to get in, but I'm going to share with you how I discovered it. I start emailing with Dorothea on April because Susan Lowell was interconnecting us. So we make a Zoom call and she shared with me the archive, but because of the time difference, I remember I woke up one day in the morning. I was like 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I went to the bathroom with my phone was alight. And when I was coming down back to the bed, I checked the email and I found Dorothea's email. So I went into the website. I saw the archive. I invite you to go inside. As soon as you get into the archive, you find a little text, an introduction text. Then underneath you have the index, and you have 8 pictures or 2 blocks of 8 pictures, and in the middle you can read the full set of images. To see the full set of images, click here. So what's that I done? I click here and I saw thousands of pictures, well, 1,000 of pictures of tensegrity structures. So as I was telling you, it was 6 o'clock. When I noticed that, so I was on the phone for nearly 2 hours. I couldn't sleep for the morning anymore. So my darling was next to me, and she woke up and she saw me with the phone checking at very early in the morning. So she said to me something like, "Hey, what are you doing at this time with the phone already?" And I look at her and I said to her, "They are tensegrity dragons." And she looked at me and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know, this Canadian Tom Flemons guy, he got tensegrity dragons." And well, he never took the importance of my phrase, but I'm telling to you, they are tensegrity dragons. They exist, tensegrity dragons. So please go to the archive to intentiondesigns.ca webpage and enjoy with all the work that Dorothea has made. Thank you.
Thanks, Fernando. So, I mean, what an honor, Susan, Graham, and the Tea Party team here to be in this position where we're bringing you all together.
I know, it's very exciting.
Just, you know, and Bruce is here, and Dorothea was here last week. She's here on as a participant today. I believe she's still here. It does feel like a very significant and rewarding way to spend our time, just making these connections happen. And then Christian and Andreina were talking about team learning, and Susan added in the chat that yes, that's what we're doing here is team learning and building community. And Susan, would you say that all of this work falls under the umbrella of biomimicry or tensegrity? Like, I know you've really carefully looked at the language, and Dorothea was talking about I can't say the word.
Biomimetics.
You know, how are we languaging all of this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different words, right? And Christian has a great article, and I think we put it in the I think we got it out to everybody when we were on the show.
My bad, I haven't read the article.
No, because what's happened is I think, and Christian's probably better to talk about this, that biology is now drawing this inspiration, or no, designers are drawing inspiration from biology, but it is biotensegrity informed views of biology. So you end up with, okay, first there's Snelson, Fuller, you know, the work that Bruce is doing, that's just, we're just working in tensegrity. That's an amazing area just to mine. It's what, 70 years old at the most? It's incredible, 100 years old at the most. People have been building continuous compression structures for hundreds of thousands of years. And, you know, to be only 100 years in, who knows what's coming down the road, right?
So it's so exciting. And I'm looking at the time, and I know that Graham, Steve, and Mariana all have models they want to share with us. I also know that Bruce Hamilton may have to leave a little early. So if anybody has questions for Bruce, I see he is still here. Please type them in the chat, and we'll give him the opportunity to answer those before he leaves. But meanwhile, do we have an order assigned for the other three, Susan, or shall I just?
No, I mean, you know, Graham, Steve, Mariana, whoever wants to go first. The other thing is, usually we all turn on our videos now, right?
Sorry, Susan, one second.
To see what you've got.
Chris, you have Fernando's video spotlighted.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that.
So, Steve, do you want to get spotlighted and show yours first?
I'm here.
Okay, great.
All right, this is a model that I started making based on actually one of Snelson's early model. It's made with copper tubing, which actually it's hard to get now because this is the old toilet sink piping that you used to have, and now they've gone to flexible pipes and just beaded wire. And I used to make these and give them as gifts to people. And it's nice to make, and it's semi-stiff instead of the elasticity, but you can adjust the beads, and it's very nice because you can adjust the tension by moving these beads around, and adjust the form of it. This is a double one, so you can see a double one. And I do want to show you what Bruce sent me, a model for a jig for it. First, you buy one of these things, and you get all these little parts and screws and things, and then he makes a jig. I don't know, can you see it? Where it's hard to see, but you can see that you just put in these nails, and then you have his little washers there, and you hook it up with this. And so this is his model of how to make it that he sent me. And I think it's on his website, if I recall, or on YouTube, of how to set up that jig so you can make his things that you're on at home. You don't need this fancy tool, but it's helpful.
So I'm going to jump in here and ask Bruce. Bruce, I have seen that YouTube series of videos to make the tensegrity. Is that still available?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, well, if we can find it, we'll put it in our newsletter next week. How about that?
And Steve, I don't think that the map, what I call it, the jig, the fixture for tying off, is widely dispersed, but you're certainly welcome to. And that would be the secret to the 12 strut mass. I would have to make that, and it shows you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, which is what Susan and I are talking about, trying to do.
Yeah, I'll find that. I think I can find that link, and we'll get that out. Hey, Chris, can you spotlight me for just a second? Because
I'm on speaker view. So what is going to happen there, Susan, is if you're speaking, you're spotlighted.
Oh, okay.
You're on
so
mute.
I'm going to speak. So this is a close up. I can't see my camera.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, this is a close up
over a
of
little
that
bit.
end
Yeah.
that we because Steve showed me how to make these, and you cross saw to get the end, and then fortunately mine broke. The little, see, we melted with the glue gun. We melted it to hold it in place, but one of mine fell out. So you can see how it gets floppy, and then you can see how you just stick the ball chain in that hole, and then it will stay if somebody wants to make one.
Very cool. Okay, Steve, do you want to say anything else before we invite Graham on?
Oh, no, let's share the load.
Pardon? Okay, Graham, are you around?
I've done it. I did a quickie, that's all.
Okay, Graham, you've got a model to share with us.
Yes, I have. 1 moment. Yes, I wanted to show you this model, the standard stick strut, which is called a super stable tensegrity. I won't talk about super stable tensegrity much, except some models are, not all tensegrities are super stable. And we'll talk about this another time. But I wanted to know what would happen if we replaced all the struts with cables and all the cables with struts. And of course, there's 6 struts. And I produce this. I don't know how much you can see it. And there's 6 red cables on it. But when you look at the standard model, at the ends of the strut, there's 4 cables attached to it. So if I was to make it exactly and replace the strings with struts, the 4 struts would be joining together, which is a definite no-no in a biological context. So what I had to do was introduce more strings alongside each of the struts. So I swapped the cables and the struts over. So the cables now become struts, the struts now become cables, which then takes the shape of a cube octahedron. And the problem with the vertices now have these little squares with the four what were cables are now struts joined together. So the superstable tensegrity can transform itself from one state to another and remain completely stable. I now want to see what would happen if I replaced the cables and struts the other way round, because it wouldn't just go back to the simple model, it would produce something even more fantastic. And this is the thing about experiment. I get to try it and see where we head up. So that's my little bit.
Very cool, Graham. Will you move that for us? Does it have the same auxetic?
This one doesn't, because an experiment, you don't get the strings exact right tension, but it probably will, but
some fiddling yet to get the tension just right.
Yeah.
And that would be biphasic. It would be biphasic. You were in a stable place there and the other one was stable. So it flipped back and forth rather than go through gradually. It's either one or the other. It's not stable in the middle.
Yeah.
And Steve, Tom Flemons made a biphasic tensegrity for you. I remember seeing it when I was at your place in 2017, where it just flipped from one to the other.
Yeah, and there's a video of that on the Flemons archive. There's a video of Tom doing the flip of that.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, great. Shall we move on and invite Mariana to show the way that she's been experimenting with tensegrity design?
Okay, mine are like the most homemade out of what has been shown today, right? So this is the one that I'm using to demonstrate how muscle tension, it's actually possible to increase the stability using muscle tone, right? So this is my model I made. It's made out of like wood sticks and pipe cleaner. And when I first built it, it was floppy. And then I use muscle contraction, meaning I'm just making these guys a little bit tighter. And as I go, I'm going to try to fast forward this for you. So if I am creating more tension on each of the pipe cleaners, then eventually it becomes very stable, right? So this is what I'm using to talk about why the kids that I work with are using their tone to stabilize something that is not stable, okay? And then I said, okay, what if, because we have always the conversation of something that is tension could be also compression in our body. So this is my latest one that I made on Wednesday. So in this one, I have what is tension in this one, the pipe cleaner, is the compression in this one. Mm-hmm. So it's to show that it's just a model, it's not biology, but it's understanding that I could, well, if I have the patience and the time, I could probably change every part of this for one like this, and it will still work the same. So I'm showing you my two.
And we have a comment from Maggie here. This is gorgeous, Mariana, and perfect for the kids' classes. I'm now fantasizing about. Carol also is adding her comments. Great, Mariana, so creative. And I want to just share that Mariana is really taking this work and making it accessible for people who are not, people who are new to biotensegrity and their parents, right? So one of your gifts, Mariana, is making things simple so that people can understand.
Yeah, maybe I can share quickly. It's not a tensegrity because it's not. It's just a mesh roll with pieces of batting inside, but this is the model that I use for the spine. Yeah. Just to show that the vertebra is just floating in the tensional system, sorry. So yes,
Mariana, that is soft chunks of cotton batting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dr. Levin suggested that I use marshmallows instead. I haven't bought them just yet, but this is for me to show, like it's not a column, right? It's something else floating. So yes, that's what I try to keep it simple so everybody understands this. And when I hear comments like, oh, it's not struts or that's not the way we are, well, no, that's not the way we are, but that's the way we function, right? So yes.
Well, simple, Mariana. And the other thing I know you do is use materials that are accessible because you work with people all around the world. Not everybody has access to some of the materials that we do here in Canada.
Yeah.
Can I show two quick things? Sorry.
Yeah. Go for it.
So just for those who are stuck on that word bistable, this is a toy from the Hoberman company. It's called a switch pitch. So it's a ball that is stable here. When it's an expanded icosahedron, it's not stable. If I let it go, it's going to collapse back into the ball. So bistable means that it's stable here and it's stable here. And the other thing I just wanted to show is I put in the link because it was mentioned for my collapsible tensegrity. This is something, it's just tiny rubber bands, string, and coffee stirs, wooden coffee stirs. And I put in the link to how to do it. And it does go flat when you roll the rubber bands back. You can push the strings in. You can also change it into a tetrahedron pretty easily. So make your own models if you haven't done it.
Thanks, Susan. And I'm going to invite everybody to turn their cameras on now and we can get to our more social party atmosphere. If you've got questions, let us know. Maybe raise your hand or just type something into the chat and Mariana is going to be taking care of that.
Please,
And
change your view.
Thank you.
Yeah, and change the view, yeah. And particularly if you have questions for Bruce, because Bruce, I know you've got house guests and you don't have a lot more time. But also, Bruce, I want everybody to know Bruce is like incredibly generous, and we are looking for people who are specifically interested in learning his ways for making these models. So get in touch with me if you're on that list. Oh, Bruce, go ahead. Show us what you got there.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight you, Bruce. Hang on.
Are you seeing this?
Wait, spotlight, Mariana?
We're going to spotlight Bruce.
Okay.
Okay. This is a favorite of mine. It's the latest one I've made. And as you can see, again, no connectors whatsoever. It's just a pattern. And Fuller used to say regenerative pattern stability. In the middle is a icosahedron made up of, each face has 9 little magnetic spheres. And these struts are actually flexible steel.
Oh, cool.
So you just pop it all together, and if you drop it, it'll all fall apart. But it's a regenerative pattern. That's all.
Bruce, will you tell us more? Regenerative pattern stability. Can you define that for us?
It's a bubble.
It's a bubble.
Bubble this for a very short time, but this will exist a little longer. But in other words, it's not a tomb. Like a pyramid that's meant to be there forever. It's just a bubble.
We maybe need to get one of these to Jean-Claude.
And can we can you show us what that strut does again, Bruce?
Oh, hang on, let me spotlight him again.
That was wild.
Oh, you're so.
Okay, it's a flexible spring.
Ah.
It's actually a nail set. Carpenters pull them back and let go, and they drive the little finishing nail. Anyway, I find a lot in the hardware stores that I like. Thank you all very much. I really enjoyed it. Everybody, Fernando and Christian and everybody. It was just wonderful. And Mariana and the garden and all of it. And for you putting it on, Susan and Chris, and everybody. Thank you very much. And be seeing you again.
I have a question for Bruce before he leaves.
Sure.
Yeah, where is exactly your garage located, please? No, don't worry. I will contact you through Susan.
You contact me, but
I
I can learn from all of you guys too. I'm absolutely sure of that. So,
Thank you very much for your work.
Bruce, before you go, there's a question about easiest way to contact Bruce. We'll put the website up again, please, whoever's
Yes.
doing that.
do that and the Wildwood Manufacturing email, which you have, everybody has. Many of my emails come to Wildwood. That's where I live most of my life.
Wildwood Manufacturing. Okay, and Bruce does have some models for sale on that website too. There's a password, and it's going to be a race to get there. Every time somebody comes up, it's like in the chat, oh, I want one, I want one. Thanks, Bruce. We'll see you again soon, I hope.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Okay. Any last words before we have our sponsors and our toast?
I think
Man,
some of them were showing some models. I know Kimi was showing hers.
Oh,
I don't know
great,
if we can just
Kimmy.
quickly have a round if someone wants to.
Yeah,
show the
I'm sorry, I
model.
missed that when I asked Kimmy. Why
I
don't
just have the model that I made from Susan's directions.
Okay, let me just spotlight you so that we can see you here.
and Kimmy, you had a question about different people's materials, but I think everybody who presented was pretty clear. Did
Yes,
you have more?
that was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Beautiful, Kimmy.
Oh, that's great.
Anybody else have something they want to share?
Wow, and we had great comments in the chat, and I guess it was just what a treat. We have to do it again. One of the things I want to do soon is maybe for the next model zoo is everything but the tensegrity,
Yeah.
because we have our helical icosahedral dice. We've got all kinds of stuff where we use all these models that are not tensegrities.
Origami, crochet.
Yeah.
Other
And,
things as well.
Kimmy, if you slide yours so that you make the triangles smaller,
Right.
that's how you end up turning it into the tetrahedron.
Okay.
So every place where you have a string triangle, you slide the string so the string triangles get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you'll end up with you'll see the tetrahedron.
Okay. I have to fix my rubber bands are too tight for me to slide anything.
Well, yeah, if you hit a knot, you may have to take the string out and move the knot to the other side of the string. Yeah, it's fun to do.
I'll give it a try. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I think what we'll do now is just a summary and thank you to all of our guests and our participants today for attending Biotensegrity Tea Party number 30. I'm going to ask our guests if they want, and anybody who wants to have some last words, and then we'll move on to station ID and a word from our sponsors. And Lisa, I'm hoping you will step up and share with us a little bit about next week after that before we sign off. Okay, so first of all, last words from any of our guests. Looks like we're all reaching our end. No last words here? Okay, so we're going to have our station ID. Please, Susan, can you tell us about our sponsors?
Sure. So we've got Handspring Publishing, so generous. Get on their mailing list. See Elizabeth Larkham's weekly or twice a month Wednesday web event. Get 20% off of any Handspring books, including mine, Graham's, Neil's. Neil, I think, is still here. He was here earlier. And any of the Jean-Claude Guimberteau's, all of those, you can get 20% off if you're if you're on the on one of the books if you're on the Handspring mailing list. And then also they're very generous in giving us a coupon code, which is in the chat. We've also got Embodied Biotensegrity, Chris's organization, educational organization, and Christian and Andreina are going to be doing this cool workshop in December that I can't wait for. And actually, we're going to do in January, we're going to do a course on my book, turning my book into a course. So that's another thing to look forward to. And Chris has just got the book club and the monthly Trailblazers meetings. If you want to up your game with Biotensegrity, that's the way to go. We've got also Artifact Pro, and Fernando's been so generous with his time. And also he offers a coupon if you want to buy his models. And he comes on and co-hosts and does these great presentations for us as well. So thank you, Artifact Pro. And then the British Fascist Symposium, that's got, I know they've got some interesting things coming up. So get on their mailing list because it's not just the every 2 years event. They've got other things going on. I think that's everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks, Susan. And I will actually make another coupon code for the Trailblazers and hopefully submit it here next week. But if you want to jump on board before then, send me an email and I'll send you a savings coupon.
And
So,
can I say, the Biotensegrity Party is an all volunteer production
yay!
of the Stephen M. Levin Biotensegrity Archive.
And we're so happy to be together. So, and that is Susan, Graham, and myself, and Mariana Barreto. We couldn't do it without you. Rachel, where are you? You might have to unmute if you want to pop out of the screen. Rachel and Lisa Babiak. Where's Lisa here?
Right here.
So before we sign off YouTube, Lisa, next week we're doing our Biotensegrity Party number 31 is on hitting and sports, and we're going to have our first tensegrity as a guest, aren't we?
We are. We are talking about golfing, cricket, and baseball, and I will be co-hosting with Wilbur Kelsick, and we will be with our guests at a performance roundtable with Jaden Babiak, Ed Bilichone, and Niall Galloway. So very exciting, and looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you. So we like to close as well with a toast. June, are you able to unmute and lead us in a toast, please?
Yes. With great gratitude and joy to all participants today, all the organizers, all the creators of this field of biotensegrity, and all the related and inspired fields, may we grow more well-rounded and playful through our engagement with biotensegrity and, of course, each other.
Yay. Thank you,
Cheers.
June. Cheers.
Cheers. Very nice.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Delightful.